Hello, everyone. Hello. Sorry. Cool. So the future is now life imitating art. Pretty hectic. But what I'm trying to do with this talk is kind of create the conversation between the link of pop culture and film and its influence on technology. And to do so, I will start off with a short video I made that kind of shows you where technology is at the moment. But bear in mind that this is technology that was launched from 2007 to present time. Cool, so it's pretty amazing to see all these new things: smartphones, smartwatches, hoverboards, iPads, jetpacks. It's really crazy how far tech has come since 2007, and to think that the iPhone was only launched in 2007 is mal in itself. But some of my favorite things would have to be hologram technology. So the likes of Tupac, who passed away nearly 2 decades ago, has performed again, Coachella in 2012 with Dre and Snoop Dogg, so that's cool. But then you get this, you get AI, which I'm pretty skeptical about, and I don't know if some of you have actually watched this interview. It's very creepy. It's about 2 AI androids discussing humanity in the future. It gets quite dark, but that's another conversation. But why I showed you this footage is because I want to prove to you that nothing is new. We've all seen this stuff before, and it's been depicted for decades. And if you don't believe me, I'll show you why. So now it's important for me to note to you again that the first video I showed you was real technology from 2007 to now, and the second is film that depicts the exact same technology, but these are films that range from 1918 to 1986, so that's a 32-year gap, which, yeah. So you're probably thinking the same thing as me. What is going on? There's a direct link between how technology is being portrayed and how it actually is in the present, and it's led me to now kind of see technology in a different light, where it's no more, wow, I've never seen that before, but now, wow, I can't believe that actually exists. So it poses the question, quite an important one: why is it that technology has aligned itself with what films depicts it to be in the future? So now, like myself and many others, you jump to conclusions, and you get this guy, Nostradamus, and you think maybe, oh, okay, these film directors or writers may have predicted this stuff. Or even worse, you get conspiracies. So people might think, oh, okay, it's just Easter eggs planted by a group of people. But I believe there's more of a rational explanation for this phenomenon, this being pop culture. So when I'm talking about pop culture, I'm not talking about the Kardashians and reality TV, or Britney Spears as a pop star in music, but I'm more talking about the accumulation of cultural products. So this being dance, art, literature, fashion, cyberculture, television, and for me focusing on this in film also being a huge part of pop culture, which is now consumed by a majority of society's population. So this means there's mass exposure of this stuff to people, especially how television, DSTV, or satellites has gone. So now, despite its much maligned image, pop culture is a vital component in the story of humanity. And why I say so is because the phrase was coined in the 19th century, but the concept behind the phrase goes far beyond that, way beyond that. So, for instance, Da Vinci, what he put out, his work in his era, was a huge element of pop culture in that day, and it still is today. So here you have an image of his sketch of a helicopter, which he put out, obviously got seen by lots of people, and eventually it's resulted centuries later in real helicopters being made. More recent, you have Shakespeare and his literature and his plays. He also a huge part of pop culture in his era and also today. But more to link to my talk, I want to talk about modern times and films, pop culture, and the influence. So you have Back to the Future, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Star Trek, and Knight Rider. This is just to name a few, but these films had a huge influence on pop culture when they came out. A lot of people were striving for this technology or just were amazed by the technology that was portrayed. But now you're probably thinking, why film? So now, film is a hugely important aspect of pop culture. For instance, they've shown tablets, like I showed you in the video, AI, self-driving cars. And film also has a huge, people put a lot of their attention towards film. So people often commit about 2 hours, maybe a bit more, of their attention towards film. And we all know film is video, and being at Red and Yellow, we've learned that video is the most engaging form of content. So now, if video is the most engaging form of content and keeping attention of consumers or people in general, it has the ability to manipulate ideas and create concepts, and we all know ideas manifest. So now that now that we know that film has a huge influence on opinions and ideas, it only takes one person to pick up that idea that may not really exist and then strive towards achieving it. And you get a guy like Steve Jobs. So now, again, it comes to the fact that now, is this phenomenon a result of generations growing up, seeing these ideas, and then now striving towards achieving them in terms of technology? Well, maybe, because Steve Jobs was 14 years old when 2001: A Space Odyssey was released in 1968. And the crazy thing about that is they portrayed iPads. So as you can see, here's a screenshot from the film. They have iPads, 1968, and in 2010, Steve Jobs revealed the first legit iPad. But there is light at the end of the tunnel for all of you that are struggling to keep up with technology. You can all start watching sci-fi as a means to keep up to date, because everyone loves sci-fi. So. But now to get onto a bit more of a serious note on the effects of pop culture and what it can actually do in terms of film, is that if it happens to be that pop culture and film are molding technological advancements, and people growing up to these ideas are striving towards achieving them, then it's important that us as creative leaders depict the future in a way that's probably more sustainable and beneficial to society, as opposed to putting out negative connotations in film. And ultimately, what I'm really trying to push is that it just puts so much emphasis on the importance of creativity and its ability to mold our future. Thank you.